To learn new information this week about who is going to replace Congressman Chris Collins on the November ballot, if anyone. Collins suspended his re-election campaign over the weekend, 3 days after he was arrested for insider trading.
Chief investigative reporter Berkeley Breen found out that the process for replacing Collins shows that New York State has some of the toughest election laws in the country. Burke?
Deanna, in the last 20 years, there have been multiple politicians in New York State arrested for corruption. But if you read some of the election laws in the state, like I did today, it's like the laws don't consider it could happen, at least not this close to an election.
New York State election law is probably the most litigated state's election law in the history of mankind.
Nick Langworthy is the chair of the Republican Party in Erie County. It's his job right now to lead the party picking a replacement for Chris Collins. But in New York State, just to get a candidate's name off the ballot this close to the election, the candidate either has to die, has to move away, or has to get nominated for another office.
When I speak with people in Washington or from other states, and I talk about what we go through for ballot access, they talk like I'm speaking Chinese.
There doesn't appear to be anything in state law that helps people understand what you can do in this kind of situation. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells us that New York has some of the most restrictive laws that govern our elections of any state in the country.
Margaret Thompson is a political science professor at the Maxwell School at Syracuse University. I reached her on FaceTime.
We're one of the few states that doesn't have early voting. We're one of the few states that has very restrictive rules on changing one's party registration. We don't have mail ballots. It's a very restrictive and I would say outdated electoral law in New York State.
So I'm going to start reaching out to the state lawmakers on the election committees in the Assembly and the Senate. I'm going to ask them, are you starting to think about changes now because of what we're going through in Western New York? The Collins district includes 8 counties. The leaders of the Republican parties in all 8 counties are meeting Tuesday night in Batavia to start the process of picking a new candidate, and we're going to be there tomorrow night. Berkeley Breen, News 10, NBC.